Well, here we are. We've talked about Toby, and we've talked about Andrew. Now it's time to talk about the MCU Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland. Look, I'm gonna be real with you here. When it comes down to how the MCU tries to adapt Spider-Man, I'm not the biggest fan of it. This video isn't going to be all negatives though, because there's a lot of things that I do like about Tom Holland's Spider-Man and the MCU portrayal of this character. It's just, I wouldn't really say Tom Holland's Spider-Man is exactly what I want out of the character personally. He could be, there's a lot of potential and promise ever since No Way Home came out, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So I thought it would be fun if we started talking about all of the MCU Spider-Man suits and just kind of rank them all, rather than just talking about all of them at once, because, I don't know, it's just more fun to rank them all individually because there's so many of them, so let's just get right into it. So first up, we've got the homemade suit. I actually really love the homemade suit. It's very goofy, but it's also very charming. It feels something that's very tangible and very much thrown together on the spot. Next, we've got the Stark suit. I really love the Stark suit. The colors are great. I actually like the black lines, unlike a lot of people. This feels like a suit that Tony Stark would make for Spider-Man. It just looks so fucking cool. Next, we've got the Iron Spider suit. I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a weird opinion. I don't completely hate this suit for a very specific reason. So, I don't like how this thing looks in the movies. I think it's very over-designed, and it's just not as good as the comic book one. But for some reason, when playing the Insomniac Spider-Man games, I actually really like the way it looks. I don't know if that's because they rendered it better, but it just looks better in the video games. I don't know. Next, we've got the stealth suit from Far From Home. I'm gonna be honest with you, I despise this suit. It's just a plain black suit. He barely wears it in the movie, and this was clearly made to sell toys. The only saving grace is that it's made by S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, this is the suit that I think of when I think of MCU Spider-Man. This suit is absolutely incredible. The colors look great. I really like how the red and black pair well together. I also really like the lenses. This suit is absolutely fantastic, and it's actually really fun to see Tom build this in the movie, so great suit. Next, we've got the black and gold suit from No Way Home. It's just fine. It's literally just the Far From Home suit, but inside out. I like the Doctor Strange gauntlet, I guess. Now we've got the hybrid suit. I actually really like this suit. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. The way he gets it too is also pretty interesting with the nanobot technology going all over his normal suit, so I fuck with it. And last, we've got the No Way Home end credits suit. This suit is amazing. For one, it makes me much more hopeful for the future of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I love the fact that he based it off of Tobey and Andrew's suits. It looks absolutely incredible. I still don't think it's as good as the TASM suits or the Raimi suit, but it's very cool on its own. I really dig this design. A few more positives before I get into my negatives. I think that the Spider-Man movies of the MCU have really great side characters. Ned and MJ are genuinely funny and actually entertaining characters. I think Ned and Peter's dynamic is pretty good, and I actually really like Ned as a character. I love how he becomes his guy on the chair. It's just really funny. I actually really like Zendaya as MJ. Her and Tom just have a great energy on screen, especially because they're dating in real life, kind of like Emma Stone and Andrew were at the time of filming their movies. They just have a great overall vibe to them. I don't know, I just really like her as MJ. She's enjoyable. So in regards to the Tom Holland movies, I'm only going to be talking about Homecoming and Far From Home, because I don't think No Way Home is a Tom Holland movie. That movie is more of a celebration of movie Spider-Man as a whole, considering it has all 3 of them in it, and it has all of the villains from the past movies, so I don't see it as a Tom movie at all, in my opinion. So the plot of Homecoming is actually pretty good because it's mainly about Tom Holland's Spider-Man wanting to do more big-type missions with the Marvel's Avengers, but Tony basically tells him you should slow it down a bit, just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for a while. And it's interesting to see a version of Peter Parker who thinks he's ready for big world-ending missions and wants to get involved with that stuff more. I find that really entertaining. Also, I gotta say, Iron Man and Spider-Man's relationship in this movie is arguably the strongest thing about it. It is just the best part of the film, seeing these two characters interact with each other. But let me get into some of my negatives with Homecoming. So, I'm not really a big fan of the whole Vulture Michael Keaton thing. Look, I love Michael Keaton, especially as Batman, but I don't really like the way the Vulture is characterized in these movies. I've always seen the Vulture as a very goofy villain, a very mad scientist-esque villain, but in the MCU movies, he's kind of serious and rough and all that, and I'm not a big fan of it. Also, a big problem that I have with both Homecoming and Far From Home is John Watts isn't really a creative director in my opinion. Like, yeah, these are serviceable movies, but compared to the Mark Webb movies or the Raimi trilogy, there's no real sauce. Like, all of the swinging scenes from those movies were grand and spectacular. Meanwhile, the MCU movies barely have any of that. Even the fight scenes aren't nearly as good as the Mark Webb and Raimi trilogy. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the fight scenes in these movies, like, a lot of them are just kinda bland, except for the final Mysterio fight from Far From Home. That action set piece goes kinda hard. I don't know, there's just not enough sauce in these movies. There's like very small amounts of it, but it's just barely there in my opinion. Let me actually talk about Far From Home for a little bit. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really like Homecoming as a movie. Like, I don't like to go back and rewatch it as much as the other movies. I just find Homecoming just kinda mediocre, not gonna lie. But I actually kind of like Far From Home, mainly because of Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. They got Mysterio really good in my opinion. It was a pretty epic portrayal of the character, you know. I actually really like how Mysterio ties back to Tony Stark. It's such an unexpected twist that you wouldn't really expect. And the illusion scenes go incredibly hard. They put so much effort into those alone. Those are arguably the best parts of the whole goddamn film. Also, this is probably an unpopular take, but I do think Tom as Spider-Man, he's a very good actor, I do like him, but my main issue with his version of Peter Parker is he doesn't really have a personality. I'm sorry to say, but like, Tom Holland's Peter Parker just feels kind of bland compared to Tobey and Andrew. Like, Andrew is obviously based off of the Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimate Peter Parker. Tobey is supposed to be the Steve Ditko 1950s Peter Parker. Tom is just kind of Tom, not gonna lie, he's just kind of boring. Like, I'm sorry, probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't really like his version of Peter Parker. Although I do love the character progression he gets in these films, I don't think he's nearly as charismatic as Tobey and Andrew were, in my opinion. I just wish he stood out more personally. I'm also not a big fan of how he pretty much just gets all this Stark tech handed to him. Like, I don't know, I always like when Spider-Man makes his own shit and is on his own. And I'm happy that we've gotten to the point after No Way Home where in the next movie he is going to be on his own. He's going to have his, you know, his suit and his gadgets maybe. He's going to be alone, you know, he's not going to have any outside help. That's how I would prefer Spider-Man to be. All I'm going to say about MCU Spider-Man is this. I understand why people like this version of the character, and I don't completely hate it. I think Tom Holland shows a lot of promise, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy the next Spider-Man movie with him. But there's just a lot of aspects to his character and his movies that I'm just not a fan of, especially Flash Thompson. I'm sorry, you seriously expect me to believe that Flash Thompson is a petty rich kid? No, he's supposed to be a dumb jock, not a fucking petty rich kid. But even with my own criticisms and personal gripes with these movies, I'm still very excited to see where Marvel decides to take Spider-Man next, and I'm excited to see more Tom. I think Spider-Man 4 will genuinely be a good movie, especially considering that Sony did not win the argument. Thank fucking God. They wanted to make Spider-Man 4 a Mother Multiverse movie. Like, no, I want it to be low stakes. I want it to be, you know, street level. I mean, maybe even use Scorpion. You set him up in that post-credit scene and it's been goddamn forever. You've done nothing with him, but that's just my opinion. I want to know what y'all think, because this is how I feel about MCU Spider-Man. But I'll see you in the next video.